Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, and a present welcome to today's engaging fireside chat with Mr. Bernard Smo. It's actually going to be exciting. All right, you all read the captions. They've been trending for 3 days now, and today we are going to be discussing smart city and urban planning, and we have someone reputable, someone who has expertise in that field, and it's no other person but Mr. Bernard Smo. So, Mr. Bernard Smo, you are welcome, and we are glad to have you today as a part or as a guest on iSpotlight Fireside Chat under the topic Smart City and Urban Planning. So, Mr. Bernard Smo, you are welcome again. The floor is all yours. If you have any introductory statement before we go into today's topic, we have a lot to learn from you today. So, you are welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, Chief. Good afternoon to viewers. I don't know if are you getting me?
You're
Am I
live.
clear
We are live.
enough?
You're live. We are getting you loud and clear.
Yeah, but I think you breaking in. I've been struggling to get you, but it's, at least it's good that I'm clear. So good afternoon to you, Chief, and good afternoon to viewers. My name is Emmanuel Bernard Smo, and it's a privilege to be on your platform. So I've got a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from the University of Liberia and a master's degree in structural engineering from Mawadi University in India. And I'm a privileged PhD student of civil engineering structural option at the Pan African University Institute of Basic Sciences, Technology, and Innovation here at the JKUAT in Kenya. So it's a pleasure, Chief. Thanks for having me.
Um, Thank you. It's also a pleasure to be sharing this chat with you, right? Because I'm going to learn more, and I guess our audience are actually going to learn a lot. So, Mr. Bernard, before we go into the discussion today, we will kindly ask you to just cheer us up with any joke or any structural engineering or any civil engineering joke before we can keep this conversation going because it's a fireside chat. So, Mr. Bernard, you're welcome again.
Yeah, yeah. You want me to cheer you or what? I didn't get that
You
part.
you're not cheering me out. You are cheering the audience, our audience out there. You are going to cheer them
Okay,
up. Yeah, with any
okay.
structural engineering joke, any brain teasing game that you have on mind before we kickstart this conversation because it's going to be very, very educative. So again, you are welcome before we proceed with today's discussion.
Well, I actually struggled to get your question, but since it's related to structural engineering, that's something that I'm a little
It's
more comfortable with.
okay,
Uh,
so it's not really a question. It's
so
just anything brain teasing. Anything brain teasing. I hope you can hear me.
anything brain
Anything,
teasing.
yeah, surrounding the topic, right? Before we go into the discussion itself.
All right. So uh, I'm a I'm a big fan of sustainable construction materials. So
Okay.
my master's research was in sustainable construction materials, where I was investigating the the strength of cement. I mean, concrete without cement. Like back home, when all of us think about concrete, the first thing that comes to mind is cement. We use cement to bind the aggregates, the constituents of concrete. So interestingly, my master's research was centered around producing concrete without cement, without the traditional cement that we use. So I had to use GGBS, I had to use fly ash to produce concrete with the various constituents, the ones that we work around with water, because concrete contains water, it contains aggregate, coarse aggregate, and fine aggregate. It also contains void that are filled by air. And then,
Okay.
so I produced concrete without cement. And then back home, we used to you we when it comes to reinforcement bar, the first thing that comes to our mind is the steel rebars. So in my investigation, I used FRP bars instead of the regular steel rebars that we use. And that came because the production of cement emits a huge amount of carbon dioxide that depletes our ozone layer on an annual basis.
Okay.
So investigators are trying to find a way to switch from relying on cement since its production hampers our ozone layer that has dire environmental consequences on us. So investigators are trying to switch away from using cement to non-cementitious materials.
Okay.
And the Bismarck process as well is the process that produces steel. So
Okay.
investigators are also trying to sway away from using steel since its production process also emits, I mean, a lot of carbon dioxide into the air. So we're trying to sway away from it and going toward using materials that can replace steel and have the same properties that steel has. So in my investigation, I use FRP rebars. They're polymers. They have almost the same compressive strength as concrete. I mean, as steel. They perform arguably equal to steel. So that was it. It was just fun. So I had
Wow. 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 Wow.
this this beam. Those who are civil engineers in the audience know what a beam is. Beam is a flexural member that we use to carry our load from the slab to the column. So it serves as the mediator between our slabs and our columns, because our slabs transfer the load to the beam and the beam transfer the load to the columns. So I prepared a beam made of geopolymer concrete, that is a concrete without cement, and I had FRP rebars in it, reinforcement bars that are not steel. So I compared the strength of that beam to our conventional beam that we use, beam that is made of RCC, like our PCC cement, and they had our normal steel rebars in it. So I had to compare the performance of both of them on the
Okay.
same kind of loadings. And interestingly, I mean, they were very competitive, very, very competitive. The structural performances were very competitive.
Oh wow. Oh wow. The explanation were well structured, but there's this underlining facts I think that I must highlight so that our audience can know
Okay.
what you were actually talking about. Right. Just to
Okay.
put the project in a nutshell, you were actually trying to develop a mechanism in which we can leverage or from using cement to something that will promote
Yeah,
a more sustainable globe, right? Because the
excellent.
production of
So that's
cement,
it.
okay,
That's it. That's it.
right,
That's it.
right. So that's
That's it.
right.
That's
That's very
it.
good. That's very good of you. That's the reason for which we're actually moved, and we'll actually be welcome to always or willing to always welcome you on this platform. So Mr. Bernard Smode will now strictly move into the topic under discussion for today, which is smart city
Okay.
and urban planning. You know, smart city
Okay.
is a trending topic around the world. It's not strange
Oh
to
yeah,
some
it
of us
is.
who are actually in the tech field and some of us who like
Okay.
reading nowadays. So if you just do an anecdotal research, you will notice that most cities around the world, a lot of cities around the world, you know, I hope I'm not breaking. A lot of cities around the world are actually leveraging from just being a regular city to a city that is more connected, a city that promotes sustainability, just as you said. So this concept is not strange. This is the 21st century, and we don't know the outcome and the prospects that lies in centuries to come or in years to come. So before we go to the first question that we need you to shed light on today, we kindly ask you to do just an overview of urban city, I mean smart city and urban planning, and then we will start the
Okay.
conversation with the first questions on our decks
Okay.
today. So, Mr. Smo, you are welcome again.
Thank you, Chief. So, maybe I should further roll out the pattern of of the conversation. We're going to start
Okay,
by knowing what a smart city is.
sure, sure,
So we look at the key components of smart cities. What
sure.
makes up a smart city? Then we look at the infrastructure. What infrastructure qualifies a city to be labeled a smart city? And then we also look at how a smart city manages its resources, like the very scarce resources, energy, water, how a smart city manages these resources. And then we look at how Liberia can leverage technology to enhance our cities
Okay,
while preserving our cultural heritage as well. Then we look at some of the challenges that comes along with actualizing our vision of a smart city. Because there are challenges, obviously there are challenges, especially for us, a developing country, there are challenges that come along with transitioning from just a city to a smart city. There are challenges. So we look at these challenges and we give recommendations how we can mitigate these challenges.
okay,
Then we'll also look at what urban planning is because they are intertwined. They are intertwined. So we'll also look at what urban planning is. So I think that's the channel of operation for today's discussion. So
thank you so much.
let's
Thank
know
you so
what
much.
a smart city is. And as we go
Okay,
through, we'll underline some terminology that we'll go deeper into. So a smart city is a city that uses digital technology and data to improve urban services, enhance residents' quality of life, and reduce environmental impact. This is not a one-size-fits-all definition for smart cities, but you agree with me that it captures some of the very basic things that must be captured in the
mm,
definition of a smart city.
okay,
So a
yeah,
smart
yeah,
city uses digital technology and data to improve urban services. So all of us in the audience know what digital technology is. Then so we start looking at terminologies like urban services. What are some of the urban services that smart cities leverage digital technology to improve? So some of these urban services include transportation. And transportation comes in two folds. There is the public transit In Liberia, we call it the NTA, the National Transit Authority, that has the buses that people use to commute from one point to the other. So in other cities around the world, for example, like I was in India, the public transit in the city that I was in has two components. There is the one that comes from one city to the other. That one uses fuel. It's a kind of diesel. They're diesel buses. They use fuel. There's also a public transit that commutes through the city. Those are EVs. They are electric vehicles. They do not use fuel. They do not use gasoline. They are charged. So they run through the day, and at the end of the day, they go to where they are charged to get ready for the next day's activities. So for a city to be labeled a smart city, it must satisfy the requirement, the transportation requirement. It must have a robust transportation system in line with public transit. In addition to that, it also needs to have a robust traffic management system. And what makes a traffic management system robust? Okay, so in other countries around the world, people are leveraging technology to monitor the flow of traffic. Like the most popular spot for traffic back home that I know is, and where there is a quote unquote traffic light, effective traffic light, is around 20th Street on the Tubman Boulevard. So in other countries around the world,
Okay.
is that?
Yeah, I'm following, but I just needed because this is a fireside
Is that?
chat, so I just needed. Are you there? I'm following.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you I mean, I'm hearing you loud and clear. I think it's the maybe it's the network, but I'm hearing you very loud and clear. So you were
Do
talking
you hear
about
me?
the yeah, you were leading. I mean, are you hearing me? I'm hearing you loud and clear, Mr. Bernard Smo. So you are laying the basics
Okay,
on
yes, I get you now. I get you.
what a smart city is and what is urban planning, right? And you were actually trying to just highlight the relationship that lies in digital technology or emerging technology with the traditional way of cities being laid out in the past. So the introduction of new
Okay, good.
technologies to include Internet of Things, right? I'm coming from a technology perspective to include IoT.
Okay,
It has actually enhanced
okay,
the development of smart cities over the years. So I think it's actually good, and that definition is actually very simple, and our audience can have something to carry with them as it regards to the basic
okay.
definition of a smart city. So Mr. Bernard Smo, you can proceed. I think I just needed to just make that sharp reservation so that they can keep following
So
us.
okay, so I was kind of cataloging the urban services that smart cities leverage digital technology and data to improve. Because Manu will say smart cities leverage digital technology and data to improve urban services, to improve the quality of life of the residents of the city, and to reduce environmental impact. So we began by listing some of the urban services that smart cities leverage technology to improve. We're talking about transportation. We talk about the issue of the public transit, like the buses. We also talked about the issue of traffic management. And I was trying to link that back home. I was trying to give a scenario where in smart cities around the world, like around 20th Street back home on the Tubman Boulevard, there is always traffic during the peak hours, mornings and evenings. and there is a traffic light mounted there. Okay, yeah. The presence of the traffic light to some extent is trying to make the city smart. But in my opinion, that falls short of the contemporary effort to make cities smart. Because the traffic light we got there is still timed. For example, one goes off for 1 minute and it waits for the other to come on. So in other cities around the world, what people are doing is they try to leverage technology in that if this lane has limited traffic, or if there is no traffic on this lane, you have the traffic light on that lane spending shorter time on, while the lane that has more traffic spends more time on. So they're using, like you said, Internet of Things to improve the kind of services. There is also the issue of waste management. Around the world, smart cities are using smart bin, like dust bins, garbage bins. They're using smart garbage bins to regulate the fill levels of these garbage bins to optimize collection routes. Smart cities also leverage technology to manage the water. Nowadays, people are using smart meters to regulate the amount of water that one consumes on a daily basis. They also use it to detect leakage from broken pipes. Smart cities also use technology, digital technology, to regulate energy usage. In other countries around the world, people are having energy saving devices. For example, when there is power in the day, maybe you have a battery that you charge, so that when there's no power at night, that battery substitutes the power and continues to supply electric power to keep you going. Another component of smart city is, like, we know that Isa? Isa?
Yeah, yeah, I'm there. I'm following, sir.
Are you there? Yeah,
I'm there.
I was a little. So, okay, around the world, in bigger cities, you see, in smart cities, I should say, you see water towers. What are the water towers used for? You know, electric power is very expensive, and the process of treating water is expensive as well. So, what do smart cities officials do around the world in an effort to have constant flow of pipe-borne water, like treated pipe-borne water through the day, even when there are power fluctuations? They have these gigantic water storage towers that we call water tank installed through the cities. So at the time of the day when power is cheapest, for example, maybe back home, you see by the afternoon hour, power is cheapest because by then you don't find a lot of people at home, because the peak usage of power is morning hours and evening hours. Morning hours, that's when people are preparing to go to work. They're using the electric iron, they're using the heater, and the rest of the evening hours, that's when they are back home. They're using the microwave to prepare food and the rest of it. So afternoon hours when power is cheapest, it's when they use the motor. What the motor does is the motor pumps water in these gigantic water tanks up there. And then at that point, now you can basically cut the motor off. So when you cut the motor off, the water flows by means of gravity. So even while the motor is off, you are saving power, you are saving electric energy. You can still have water running through by means of gravity, because gravity is free. Nobody buys gravity. Gravity is free. So smart cities are also leveraging digital technology to enhance the quality of education. For example,
Okay.
I know of two notable cases. In Nigeria, there is the U-Lesson app. It's a mobile app. That app is used to help millions of students across Nigeria. In India, there is a platform known as NPTEL.
Okay.
It's a program where professors from across India come. It normally starts in June, in July of every year. As I speak, it's ongoing. I'm benefiting from it. I have up to 6 online courses that I'm currently doing there. So you have professors from almost all the top universities in India offering specialized courses. So I'm doing a bridge design to sharpen my bridge design skills. I'm doing construction project management. I'm doing steel. I'm doing reinforced concrete. So that's a digital platform that is being used to, but I mean that's a platform that is using digital technology to enhance the education sector of Indians and other people around the world. All right. But
Okay.
smart cities have key components as well. And one of the components is what you mentioned earlier, the Internet of Things, IoTs. So IoTs, practical examples of IoTs are smart street lights, the traffic lights, the sensors, the traffic sensors that we see at work around the world. So that is leveraging technology, digital technology, to enhance the quality of life of the residents of these places. There's also the big data analytics. For example, I've been in Kenya for like a couple of weeks. The only time I held the Kenyan shilling was maybe the first 2 days I came. Since the first 2 days, I've never held money. All the money I use is on my phone. So you rally Boda, the one who we call bag, motorbike bag, whom they call it Boda. So you rally, you get on, the man gives you his number, you send the money to him. So they basically driving to a cashless society. So that with that kind of big data, it informs decision making at the national level.
Okay. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. Right.
Yeah.
The perspectives you just laid out are all magnificent. And there's this issue I want, because you've already started to shield that on it, and that is the
Okay.
integration of resilient smart city concept, right? So how
Okay.
can Africa, you know, integrate these resilient smart cities concept that is already being used in other countries around the world, right?
Yep.
Because they
So
have
so
already
so
started to. Okay, you can proceed, sir.
okay, yeah. So the thing is, the world is gearing toward sustainability and resilience. So nowadays, as a designer, even me as a structural engineer, the first thing that comes to your mind as a designer is it design sustainable? Is it resilient? Because we try to reverse our carbon footprint. And we can reverse our carbon footprint when when we continue the trend of our conventional and traditional way of doing things. So we need to start building sustainable systems. For example, nowadays people are trying to harvest rainwater. The the AU headquarters in Addis Ababa, it harvests rainwater for its usage. It uses solar panel. So people are building houses that use smart grids to harvest and reintegrate renewable energy into the system. Because the thing is, if we can get toward things such as renewable energy, like for example, energy from the sun, wind energy. Okay, let me make it practical in my own case. Back home, I was telling somebody the other day, I say, if I should decide to build maybe even up to a 5-story building in Labrador, I'll use dead blocks or the clay bricks is what I will use. That
Okay.
is because you in India, most of the houses there are built with clay bricks.
Sure.
Yeah, most of the houses that
It's
are
just
built with
it's,
clay
it's
bricks,
just a
from a structural
structure. It's just a
engineer's point of
structure.
view,
I know.
unless
Okay.
you are building a low carrying wall or a low bearing wall, the walls in a house really do not take any loads. In modern construction nowadays, people use the RCC frame. You see, they have the footing, they erect the column, they cast the slab, and then they go to the next level. When they're done with it, then you see masons coming to lay the block. So that tells you that the block is really not a part of the structural components of the house, unless in a case where you are building a low carrying or low bearing wall. But in our normal RCC frames, the block really doesn't have any part to play. So one way that I think I can help to have a sustainable and resilient world is to transition from building with environmentally unfriendly materials to a material that is way more environmentally unfriendly. The clay, it's just that easy. So yeah, you read your concrete frame and you pour you lay your clay bricks. So that one you can even go in a community where because the clay brick you find people selling maybe 35, $25, $20. So that's even way more less expensive and it is also environmentally friendly. So unless we transition from using these environmentally harmful materials, that particularly I'll be very specific on construction materials, we'll continue having issues. So one way that we can contribute to make the world a more resilient and sustainable planet is to transition from our conventional and traditional way of doing things to using smart grids, energy management systems. Yeah, like back home, we had this kind of it's like a battery. So when current comes, back home the current fluctuates. When current comes, we charge it. We charge it. It charges for like up to 4 or 5 hours. After the 4 or 5 hours, current goes. It's strong enough to the extent that you can have like 2 3 bulbs on it, light bulbs. So you see, while current is not in the community, there's current in our home. Nobody phone goes off because there's no current. So like, you are harnessing the power of battery to help to make the world sustainable. Solar panels. People are using green roof nowadays in construction. Green roof. So in our effort to make the world sustainable, no matter what profession you find yourself in, especially from a smart city perspective, you must be able to harness the power of technology. We know that to build battery, because we know that technology is the application of science. So you must be able to harness the power of things like the battery to our renewable energy sources. You must be able to at least harvest rainwater. But I know most of these concepts seem far-fetched for us because we still challenged with very basic social services. Yeah, I know that most of the concepts don't seem realistic from our point of view because we are still very challenged with very, very, very basic social services. So how do
Okay.
we reroute Morovia? Because there are two basic routes that go to Morovia. The one through Tome Boulevard, or in the other case, you use the Japanese Drive. There are two basic there are two basic routes that lead to Central Town. And Central Town happens to be the engine of Liberia, basically. That's where that's the boiling part.
Okay.
So
Okay.
so
So so
you,
so
you see
okay.
you see we have issues like daily traffic, and we know what the traffic does. When the traffic is long, it inconveniences the driver, it inconveniences the passengers. I mean, you burn more fuel. As you burn more fuel, we know that your contribution to the carbon footprint is low, but you are contributing. You are stuck in the traffic. You're burning fuel. The CO2 when the exhaust goes up there. I mean, the toxic gas from the exhaust goes up there. So you also contributing to our carbon footprint. But we
Okay.
can solve these kind of problems with the kind of establishment that we have in place.
Sure. Mr. Bernard Sumud, you're actually highlighting some salient point, and I must actually applaud you because a lot of your points actually surrounds sustainability, right? leveraging from the traditional lifestyle to a more smart lifestyle that promotes sustainability.
Yeah.
So in a context of a smart city, many cities around the world, to include maybe Tokyo, the capital city of Japan,
Okay.
which is I mean the capital city of Japan, and other cities around the world, they are
Mhm.
actually using IoT and artificial intelligence. You know,
Okay.
and they have for very 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 complex management system for these cities, right? Because the integration of IoT and AI is very very complex. That it's not just about the word, right? Because it's about giving human characteristics to machines so as to proxy for humans in the absence of
Yeah.
their available. I mean, when they are not available or in their absence. So if you're talking about leveraging from the traditional style of building, where people will be using cement to move into a modern or more smart style of building, where they will be using clay bricks as is being done in India. I think that is very prudent enough because it will help reduce the carbon footprint, like you were saying, right? So the next point on our discussion for today, I think it will actually be the smart city and economic growth, right? In the context
Okay.
of Africa, to be specific, Liberia, right? What is your perspective on this portion or this part of our discussion today? How does smart city affect economic growth around Africa? To be specific, Liberia.
All right. So I'll use just one of the components of a smart city as a case study, which is, for example, one of the urban services that smart city improves, transportation. I'll give you a practical example for that. Okay. So uh, around the world, for example, even in Lagos, Nigeria, they use digital technology to track buses. Like what we have is the NTA to track the buses, the transit buses, the traffic transit buses in real time. They use it to have an integrated ticketing system. All right. So what does it do? It helps government to generate revenue. I'll give you a practical example of that. I want to tell you. I know this is not a very good example, but I have to admit it. Earlier, when I went to LU back in the days, there were these MTA buses. We would board the buses from Park Up in Junction and head to Fenner. Because these MTA buses, they will serve us the ticket. It was $15 by then. You get on the bus, you pay the $15 and they give you the ticket. So in an instance where you drop your ticket, because the system is not automated, the person who serves you the ticket will come back and pick up the very ticket that you drop on the bus and serve the next person with it. So what are you doing? You're denying government revenue. All right. So I gave you an example. Okay, like a toll system. The toll system that charges road users to contribute for road maintenance. If that system is not automated and you have humans there, it's possible that, I mean, they can be compromised. But if you have an automated system in place, if this man is driving this kind of vehicle and the charge of this vehicle is like $2, the system is not going to negotiate. The system knows that as per a vehicle, you're supposed to pay $2. So you have to drop the $2 there before the gate opens for you. So in the case of the bus, if it was an automated system that says the ticket that has been served cannot be re-entered into the machine or cannot be served again, you program your system with that instruction. That is the instruction that the system knows. Obviously, that system cannot be tampered with. But if it is not automated, it leaves room for compromise. And we know what the issue of compromising does. The issue of smart meters to detect leakage in water supply systems. Treating water is already an expensive process, like I said from the onset. So if you don't have a system in place that tracks and to test your leakage, then you have problem. What you're doing, you are losing resources because you are allowing your water to spill away. You don't have a tracking system that tells what's going on in the system. So that's another way we can leverage it. People are using smart systems around the world to even offer health care services to people in remote locations. Rwanda does that. So you say, for example, you're in Grand Bassa, you can come to Monrovia, you literally consult with a doctor from Monrovia online, and he tells you what to do. Maybe all you need to do is the drug is locally available, but you just need a prescription of a medical practitioner who's got the required training to advise you what to take. So instead of coming to Monrovia for just medical examination that you would have just orally done online, you just stay there and through the app that they have, you basically consult with the doctor, and he tells you what to do. Like we mentioned, the issue of leveraging it in the case of education. There are a lot of successful instances of it around the world. We talked about the issue of the ULEZ in Abu Nigeria. We talked about it in the national platform that trains professionals, academicians in India, the NPTEL. So that tells you the leveraging technology can even boost the economy. It boosts the economy.
Okay. I've been following, and the issue that has to do with
Okay.
the ticket sales on the UL buses was actually a bit comical, but I think for the sake of this fireside chat, it's necessary so that our audience can have a better insight of what you are actually portraying, right? So automation, if I got you right, you were actually trying to portray an idea that says that automating, basic or automating everyday activities in the transportation sector in Liberia will actually benefit the government more. It will help reduce the issue of frauds in the process, so that instead of humans being responsible for those tasks, robots and other processes can help
Yeah,
increase
but
revenue, revenue
that's not
generation.
only limited to the transportation sector. That's applicable to all sectors. Revenue generation,
Okay,
the LRA.
okay.
That's
So
just
so that
all
is
over.
that is very good. That
For
is very
example,
good.
let me give you another classic example. You remember one day, my man Cham, we were staying in here, but then Cham and I were on a scooter, and then we took a turn somewhere where we should never have taken a turn. So that was a traffic violation. So we got stopped by the police officer. Back home, you'll be served ticket manually where you have to go to the bank and the rest of it. No. Guess what? Just there and then, the officer told us our fine, and he had his app.
I
He
remember
brought his
that
phone,
instance.
he
You told
used
me
the
about it
app on
once
his
upon a
phone to pay the fine, government revenue. And that was just it. But back home, the officer serves the ticket. Then maybe after 1, 2, 3 days, you can negotiate the ticket. So you deny government revenue, you violated. Maybe you're supposed to pay $10 for the ticket. But because the system is not automated, so the time in between, from the time you serve the ticket to the time you go pay and all the kind of formality, go through the banking process and all of that, there can be compromise in between. But when the system is automated, they may have the app on his phone. You pay the fine there and then. So you now find leakages through government revenue generation. You now find a lot of that. Yeah, so that's one practical example of it. I said just there and then, Cham and I just got down from the bike, and the man say, I think the fine was somewhere around 80, I think 100 and something rupees. And he brought the app on his phone. We just paid it, put all the details, and that was it. Got cleared up. So it even takes away that inconvenience of having a driver license taking until you pay the fine and all of that. So you see what automating the system does? So it basically improves the quality of life of the residents of the city. Are you there? Isa? Isa? Isa?
Are you, yeah. Are you following?
Yeah.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm following. But your
Okay.
mic was off.
Okay. So the basic, the underlying factor from what you just explained, I think is good, and it actually falls between the first point that was raised, that has to do with the integration of resilient and smart city concept. So generating revenue will actually depend on this, because there should be mechanisms, there should be systems that should be put in place in order to achieve economic growth as it regards to the proceeds of smart city. Because in order to mitigate, like what you said, to mitigate violations, traffic violations, there should be smart cameras being placed in the street, and this camera will not only be monitored by humans. These cameras should have an automated system connected to the various revenue authorities, so that when people are in violations, the penalty and everything will be done in a very flexible manner, so as to help prevent violence in the street. Because in our country, like, you see the lights on the most common violence in the street that has to do with driving, taking drivers driving lessons.
Uh,
All right, so it's good. So
so
we'll move
so
to the
so
next.
just to add up to the
Okay,
issue of
okay, no
just to add
problem.
up to the issue
Let's
of
leave
smart
this
traffic
adult, and
light.
then we can take a 5 minute break. Okay.
Just to add up
Yeah.
to the issue of smart traffic lights, Ford Ford has invented a traffic light that that has a sensor mounted. For example, if an ambulance is coming from a distance, like up to 2 minutes away, and the siren is wailing, the sensor mounted on top of the traffic light locates the ambulance, and automatically the traffic light turns green to give the ambulance access automatically. Because the
Okay.
thing is, when disasters strike, first responders should get there unhindered. So again, that's them leveraging technology to make that city smarter. So you wouldn't have the situation where first responders will arrive at the scene late because the ambulance, because the fire truck was stuck in traffic, and that's just it. So just from the siren, yeah,
Okay.
it
So
picks
it's
it
good.
up, and the
It's good.
light
It's
turns
good.
green automatically for the ambulance.
Wow. That's very magnificent, right? But there's this thing. I don't know. I think we will save it for the next 45 minutes of our broadcast today, because I think we've gone 45 minutes plus our introductory minutes. But I actually wanted to raise an issue. Maybe when I come when we I mean when we get back, then I will raise this issue. But let me just hint you with the issue of such a
Okay.
development. What if it's not an ambulance, but someone else using a siren? So is the traffic light going to recognize this? Recognize that siren as an ambulance, or it will just consider it? Is it going to recognize it as not being an ambulance, or is it going to just generally recognize it as an ambulance, which will actually cause problem again for the traffic. So, but when we get back, I don't know whether you want to highlights to show highlights on it, or we should get back and then you may comment on it.
I- if we just ask it again, I think you got clearer not too long, but through the question
Oh,
I didn't get to you are breaking.
maybe
So
it's
if
the
you can ask
network.
it again,
Okay,
it's okay.
so I actually meant that the development from Ford that has to do with the introduction of that
Okay.
street lights that recognizes
Yeah.
an ambulance from 2 meters
Hmm.
away. What
Okay.
if it's not an
Uh-huh.
ambulance that is how they call it, what if it's not an ambulance siren, right, but a regular car or just a convoy? How
Yeah,
what mechanism?
yeah, maybe that's a limitation of the system I can build on. But I think it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
meant for emergency vehicles. Yeah,
Okay,
that's a
okay. So I
limitation. But I
understand.
think it's
So I
basically
understand
meant
that
for
concept.
emergency vehicles.
So I understand that
So
concept
so
very
if
well
somebody
now.
knows it and the person this person is a suspect, maybe this person is, for example, is a criminal and he's escaping, he could just make use of it. So that's an inherent limitation of the system that maybe can be rectified in subsequent versions of the invention.
Okay, okay, okay. So let's take a 5 minutes break and just a 5 minute break, and then we'll get back and continue with the next 45 minutes of today's fireside
All right,
chat.
Chief.
Right. If the first 45 minutes
Okay.
was really really
Uh,
insightful, and actually, I must actually commend you, Mr. Bernard Smo, for all the insights you brought forward to us. So let's take a 45 minute break and get back, sir.
We are back. So continue on the second portion of today's fireside chat with Mr. Bernasco. And it's actually the first half of this live broadcast was actually magnificent. Enjoyed a lot. And I believe that the next half I believe that the next half is going to be more magnificent than the first one. And a lot of insights are going to be shedded lights on. Mm. So, Mr. Bernard Small, it's glad
Yeah,
to have you.
Chief.
And
Yeah, thank you so much.
this portion is actually going to be a little or more like a question and answer session, right? So that our
Okay.
audience can have a better understanding of how what they stand to benefit from a smart city if it's been um realized in Liberia. So let's
Okay.
firstly start with the first question, and our first question has to do with how can we effectively contextualize the idea of smart city, the idea of smart city in Liberia. How can we contextualize it, right, so that the layman can be convinced that indeed Liberia needs a smart city agenda. And how can we put it into context?
All right. So one of the things we need to do is we we first need to have the kind of platform that's going to push, if not all of us, that is going to push us to have like at least let majority, maybe two-thirds, more than half of the population should have some basic insight on technology, like electronic gadgets. I think that's the first start of it. In my opinion, that's the first step toward achieving a smart city. Because you can be living a smart city and you're not smart technology wise.
Yeah.
So at least very basic training, hands-on training. We should have like access to the technology. Let's have access to it. Let's be comfortable with it. Smart city comes, for example, it comes along with escalators. It comes along with how you call it, lift. You don't want a situation where to even climb the escalator and get off it is a challenge. Yeah, you don't want a situation where you and somebody in the lift, as soon as it picks up, then they hawk you. You don't want that kind of thing. So let's start getting comfortable with it. Then at least we're preparing our minds for it. Because it's like it's a transition, all around the world, and we like to stay in our comfort zone. So we like the way things are, because the manual part of things, the conventional part of things has its advantages as well, like unfair advantages to, for example, we mentioned the issue of the police officer using the app so I can just pay my traffic violation fines. If the app is there, the money goes directly to government revenue. But when the app is not there, there's this kind of room for compromise where maybe the punishment isn't that harsh. The punishment drops. So if I supposed to pay some there $10 in government revenue, yeah, maybe the man might again, so I'm gonna swap the why can't they half of the $10 supposed to pay the government? So we ourselves got to firstly start developing the mindset to transition. So when it starts happening, we can be comfortable with it.
Yeah. Okay. So it's
Yeah.
good. Mm, if I got
So
you
in my
correct,
opinion, that's the first step.
yeah, if I got you correct, I think the first point that you raised was to actually have some public awareness like this on some of the necessities that
Yeah.
that surrounds smart cities. What are some of the benefits that it brings that has to do with the development of escalators in buildings and so forth, right? And but there's this thing, because smart cities are actually not built in one day, right? So when I'm talking about
Yeah, it takes time.
contextualized,
It's like a
yeah, it
whole
takes time.
gradual process. In fact, what happens is, for example, what is smart today in the next 4 or 5 years may not be smart.
It
Back in
might
the
be smart.
days,
That's
the
what I wanted
traffic
to say.
lights, like the ones we have back home, these ones that are timed. The one where their lane will go off for 1 minute, the next lane goes off for 1 minute. Like years back, that was a revolution, like a revolution in technology. But nowadays, it's not, because there are smarter options. So it's a gradual process that will be rolled out, and we got to
Yeah,
adjust as it is being rolled out.
sure. So thank
Because
you
from the
for the share.
beginning, it looks inconveniencing. Yeah, it looks inconveniencing from the beginning. But as time goes by, everybody gets comfortable with it. And for example, I just mentioned the issue of having a cashless society. One drawback, one threat to that is the issue of high cost. So that means we need to have strong privacy laws,
Mhm.
privacy and security regulations in place. We also need to have a robust cybersecurity arm. And the good thing is, nowadays, I always tell people, Liberia's problem isn't expertise anymore. Because like every profession you look into,
The bureau
there's a lot of
problem isn't
Liberian
expertise
who's
anymore.
already
I'm so
got
excited
some
to hear that
credentials
from
in
you.
that regard,
And
or there's a Liberian
let
outside
me,
of Liberia who's got some credentials in that regard.
I beg to
Like
inject you
before I
because
went
this is
to
a fire.
engineering, yeah, before I went to
I
master's
beg to.
program,
Okay.
yeah, before I went to master's program, you literally count all the structural engineers in Liberia. But nowadays you can. I mean, the number swells on a daily basis. Before I went to engineering, I mean structure, before I went to do structure as a master's program, you will count all of them. The notable ones were Chief Engineer Gary Bodolo, there was Perita, there was Augustine Taylor, there was Charles Carpenter, there was Clarence Fedre, basically. But nowadays, they tell you to name all the structural engineers in Liberia, you know, because the number plenty now. So our problem isn't expertise anymore. We have the
That's
manpower.
so. I like that tagline, that our problem, Liberia's problem, isn't expertise anymore. It's so magnificent, right? So I think our problems now lie in utilizing this expertise for our growth and development. I stand to be corrected,
That
but I
is
don't
it.
know. Okay.
That is it, right? Yeah.
Okay. So
So
let's.
it's just giving the expertise the stage to perform. People just need the stage. People just need the platform to perform. That's it. People just need the
Okay.
platform to perform and you get the best out of them. Yeah.
So it's good.
So
It's
like the
good. It's
issue
good.
of apps to digital most of our operations, there are people doing computer applications outside of like Europe. I know most of them are guided. They're heading home. So can we charge these people to start building the kind of platform? For example, even our tourism industry in Egypt uses a virtual reality platform to make people tour the pyramids. So you don't even have to go to Egypt to tour the pyramids. You stay home and they just use the virtual reality platform to make you tour the pyramid. But do you have a robust website that updates people on our tourism activities? We don't. If it is there, I don't know how effective it is. It's not that we don't have people who can do it. We have people who can do it.
Yeah, but
So
it's
the
good. It's good.
solutions to our
I
problems
just this
are there staring at
Mr.
us in the
Pronouncement.
face.
I think you've been following iSpotlight, right? We are a company that's just started, but we've grown very fast. And I that we that point you just raised, I'm going to look at it very, 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 very seriously. And my team and I are going to work on something, that issue that has
Hello?
to do with the virtual reality that Egypt is currently using in their tourism sector. My team and I are actually going to look in it. So
Oh
I must
yeah.
commend you for I'm gonna commend you for that. Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Isa,
yeah, yeah.
you and I spent some time together in India, right?
Exactly,
Ads,
exactly.
adverts. To watch one YouTube video in India, to watch one YouTube video in India and complete it, you have to watch up to maybe 2, 3 adverts.
Yes, yes, yes.
The same thing happens here in Kenya. To watch one YouTube video and complete it, you have to watch like 2, 3 ads. That's marketing. The people
That's my
leveraging, I mean, the digital platforms to just, in fact, in something that somebody will tell you, say, somebody touristing places around Africa that are celebrated. People feel they are all hyped. That because the people leveraging technology to just sell their services. So you see almost everybody flying in. The one can see, so you can see dating that then all hyped dating that the people always advertising. You see it's just your expectation doesn't mean
something.
reality, but that's them
Yeah, something very
leveraging the
easy.
power of
Yeah,
technology to go
exactly,
into the
exactly,
generally.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Okay, so let's get the ball rolling. Let's go to the next question, and the next question is like this. Um, how do I put it? How can resilience be integrated into smart cities concept in the context of Liberia development?
How
How can
can you just
resilient
can you just ask the question
resilience
again? Yeah.
how can
Okay.
resilience be integrated into smart
Uh-huh.
cities? I mean, smart city development in the context of Liberia. How can resilience be integrated?
Uh, we said we said smart cities requires smart infrastructure.
Okay.
That is even the building, the roads, and everything. Smart infrastructure. So to have a contemporary smart city, the city must be sustainable. You must be able to at least manage your waste, the waste that you generate on a daily basis. You must be able to manage it. You must also be able to manage your power consumption, the energy. That's being sustainable, that's being resilient. You must
Yeah.
also be able to manage the resources, the water, the energy. You must be able to manage them. You must be able to use technology to manage them. So you leveraging technology to get the best out of them. Because the issue of being resilient and sustainable is tied to our carbon footprint. Global warming is a challenge. Nowadays, the weather is not predictable anymore. the reality always falls off with predictions. That tells you how dire the consequences of not being smart with the way we build our system is. So to reverse that, we have to incorporate sustainability and resiliency. And one of the ways to do that is to use materials that will not contribute to our carbon footprint. So if we know that extracting and treating raw water requires a lot of energy, so what do? We look for ways in which we can leverage technology to harvest rainwater. That's us being resilient and sustainable.
Okay.
If we
So
know that electric power generation costs us a lot as a planet, what do? Go for alternatives. Can we use solar panel? The innovation hub in Nairobi is powered by solar panel. Now that Kenya ain't get coral, I mean, I can tell you last time coral once I was here. I mean, it's a very strange thing to hear the coral go. But intentionally, the IHOP in Nairobi is powered by electric power. I mean, solar panel.
that's a plus for them. Yeah.
So that is an attempt to be resilient and sustainable.
Okay. So I think we time is far spent. This fireside conversation should have lasted for 1 hour 30 minutes. So we are left with like
Okay.
close to 10 minutes or 15 minutes at most. So let's take the next 10 minutes to go into urban planning, because we've discussed a lot as it relates to smart city. So my first question
Okay.
under the portion that has to do with urban planning is how can sustainable digital urban infrastructure, you know, be
It's not.
realized?
How can sustainable
How can
urban
how
planning?
can sustainable digital urban infrastructure advance, urban planning in African society, especially Liberia? Sustainable digital urban infrastructure. How can they advance urban planning in Africa? To be specific, Liberia now. This is where we at.
Okay, so the first thing is I want to say that in terms of urban planning, we are poor, like very poor at it. We're very poor because urban planning has requirements. It requires a layout of the city. So that's why people go to school for it. People go to become urban planners. It requires a layout of the city, the architecture. It also takes into consideration environmental concerns. But I mean, we're not good at it. And the worst part of it is in these new places that we should have corrected the wrongs. For example, back in the day when I used to go to school at Fenor, around my back there was a whole bush. They had like raw farm there. Okay, we decided to develop these places and turn them into urban places, man. So why couldn't we start laying these places out? Unfortunately, we didn't do it. So if you went there now, we have almost the same pattern that we have in Pinsville, the same pattern that we have and across, we have the same pattern that we have in Monrovia, almost the same pattern for Christ's sake. So we're still having some issues. So the issue of urban planning is not even being realized back home yet. It's not. It's not even the first requirement to have the place laid out. We still challenged with it. We still very challenged with the very first requirement of urban planning. We're still struggling to lay out our places. And when we have the opportunity to correct the mistake, we still repeat the same mistake. So how do we even integrate the concept of smart city in our urban places when we are not laying it out in line with the contemporary standards, criteria, requirements for laying out urban places? So we stay very challenged, like very seriously challenged. So most of these things we want to talk about them, but when it comes to realizing them, I don't know. in my opinion, they don't seem realistic. They just don't seem realistic because we don't have the layout, we don't have the architecture, we don't have the blueprint for them. So we come to other people's country, we admire them so much, and then we go back home. The harsh reality hits us. We can't do anything about it.
Okay, so it's good. It's
So
good, right?
I will better answer that question if you are asking it in the context of all African countries. That would sound realistic. I will answer it from the
Okay,
bottom.
okay, 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 okay.
Yeah.
Because you don't want it.
Back
You don't want it
back
to
home,
be
go along
abstract.
the
I understand.
go along the Marshall Highway. Yeah, along the Marshall Highway, right? These are places that were just sold out. These are rural places transitioning to urban places. So why
Exactly. There
didn't
should be a
we
plan.
correct these mistakes?
Sure, I understand now. Sure.
Why didn't we correct the mistakes? And we still having the same issue. We still repeating. So it's like we caught up in the same cycle of error. We keep going back on the same thing, doing things the same way. So having smart cities, that's maybe not even you and myself lifetime. Sorry if I'm being brutal, but that's just me being honest. It could be very
With the help
frustrating.
of with the help of people like you,
Yeah, it's very
we hope to
frustrating.
realize the development of smart cities in Liberia, especially along the coastal portion of Liberia, to include Maryland, Grand Cape Mounts, and other counties that are closer to the sea. But let's not
Yeah,
dwell.
maybe as time goes, maybe as
Yeah,
time
yeah,
goes back. Because the thing is, to even realize it, it starts with every design starts as a concept.
exactly.
So you must first develop the blueprint. How do you want things to be? Develop a blueprint. Have a standard. So when you set the standard, then people start to live by it. But we still struggling to set the standard. Even in this day and age, we still struggling with the standard, bro.
Yeah.
So how
So
can
this
we
is
transition our cities to smart cities?
I think
It breaks my heart.
if I can make
Like
if I can make any
you go to
input, I
other
think
people's country, you
it
see
depends on our legislation.
towns are laid out. Towns are laid out. Like way more
Exactly.
laid out.
Way more
For
layout.
Christ's sake.
Sure.
Yeah.
If I can just make a quick input, I think it depends on the legislation we pass nowadays, right? The laws that are being passed by our legislature, right? They need to
You talking about
prioritize.
legislation?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
talking about
that's even
legislation.
one of my frustrations. That is one of my
They,
frustrations.
they
That is
need
one
to
of my
prioritize.
frustrations. I'm not a politician.
Okay.
I'm
They
not a
need to
politician.
prioritize.
I don't like to talk politics. But that is one of my frustrations, right? Look around us. Look at our neighbors. The person who is the city mayor of Sierra Leone has got 25 plus years experience. In fact, the first thing is she is, because of female, she is a London Business School trained economist. She got from Friday College in Sierra Leone, went to London, went to school, and she worked in the private sector as a planning strategist for 25 plus years. So that person goes back home and the person gets appointed as city mayor. So they go into the table with wealth of experience. But the unfortunate thing is for us, when we think about city mayor job, we say it's not technical. In fact, when we think about technical job, no, we can't even think about city mayor, Benny. City mayor is part
it's a
of the technical jobs. So we
it's a
just
bit
take
funny.
Irish people and make them city mayors. So we make this Irish somebody the city mayor should be somebody with planning background, the town planning. Somebody
Exactly.
even architecture, town planning. I think that person is closer to being a city mayor. But because we look at city mayor to be purely administrative, we just take people and give it to them. So the main things that the only job as the city mayor
It's
is
administration.
to clean garbage. But that's not it. Look at the lady who's the city mayor of Accra. She's a former MP, former member of parliament. She's a former deputy minister for Greater Accra region. She's why as an MP she served on like tons of committees: environment, social welfare, foreign affairs, lands and mines. These are committees she served. And then with that portfolio, she begins to the mayor. So that person is going to the job with wealth of experience.
Yeah. So So I think it requires.
But we look in that direction. That is back home, the people who can elect to parliament. For Christ's sake, I see it frustrates me. I don't like to talk politics, but it frustrates me, right? You see, this man is sending his child to school, but when it comes to election, he neglects education and goes for somebody who is basically a humanitarian because the man comes around, he gives you maybe $5, $10. Then you let the man leave the man who's qualified out. So somebody go to parliament the whole year, the whole time of parliament, the man goes there, he doesn't make any argument. So we're not thinking. We have people who don't think.
So
these laws, like they have city ordinances in all the countries that just regulate the activities of the city. City ordinances, laws to go on the city. Just the city alone has its own laws. In other places, you just don't walk just anywhere. You could be charged for jaywalking and all of that. But
so the conversation is getting very, very interesting.
Get the chance.
The conversation is getting very.
To elect people who will make these laws.
The conversation is getting so interesting, Mr. Bernard. I can feel your frustration. The fireside chat is getting very interesting. I can feel your frustration because you do have expertise in some of those areas, right? And you are not seeing what you're supposed to be seeing. But notwithstanding, let's be optimistic and let's hope for the better. And the last key point that I want us to discuss before we call this fireside chat or a successful one. We cannot discuss urban planning without discussing climate change and global warming, right? I stand to be corrected, but I know you cannot discuss urban planning, smart city without highlighting climate change and global warming. So how does urban planning and smart city help in mitigating the actions of climate change and global warming?
Isa, can you please just come back? I'm struggling to just get you.
I think it's the network. Okay, but let me go over what I said. I said you cannot discuss nowadays. You cannot discuss development, especially infrastructure development, without highlighting climate change and global warming.
Hello, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear
Hello?
me? Can you hear me? I'm there. I'm hearing you loud and clear. Are you there?
Isa, the network. Yeah. Okay.
Are you hearing me now? Can you hear me now? I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you loud and clear.
I don't know if it's my network, but I think it's really bad. I can't get you at all. You getting me?
I'm hearing you. Can you hear me now?
Isa.
I'm hearing you, sir. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Isa.
Can you hear me? I'm hearing you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm hearing you. I don't know whether it's your network, but I'm hearing you loud and clear.
You coming broken, like really horrible. You coming really broken, really broken. I don't know. You there?
Can you hear me now?
Okay, let's just ask. Maybe I'll try to pick up bullet points like strategic words from the question. Just ask the question.
Well, I'm hearing you. I hope you're hearing me now. Can you hear me now?
Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I think.
Let's go.
I think it's the network. So I was asking, nowadays you cannot discuss.
Development, especially infrastructure development, without highlighting climate change and global warming. Right? I stand to be
Oh
corrected.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, but
how
besides that, one
can
of the reasons why we include in resilient, the two words resilient and sustainable in the discussion, that because we're trying to, like we said, reverse the our carbon footprint, right? And everything we do nowadays, that should be at the back of our mind.
okay? So I think maybe you can just maybe in the next in 2 to 3 minutes or in 1 minute you can just shed lights on how urban planning can play or a positive role in realizing the goals of climate change and global warming that have been stipulated in the international instruments around the world. Some of those rules.
Okay. So nowadays, like the world as a whole wants to encourage greener cities. They want cities to be green. That is one of the reasons why in urban planning, the issue of even waste management is a very serious component because landfills are getting overwhelmed. Landfills are getting overwhelmed. In fact, in some instances, in some places, people turn to even burn the dirt. So when they do, when we burn, what happens? That means we just try to undermine the world's effort to reduce our carbon footprint. So in an attempt to have greener cities, in fact, there are grants. The World Bank gives grants to cities around the world to manage their waste. That's just one component of it. One component. In fact, just that is why even in other countries, you see in the height of the city there are zoos. People are planting trees. Like so, that is urban planning. But all that comes along with planning. So there are parks, there are zoos, just in the heart of town. These places are left intentionally because people want to develop them to meet the requirement of contemporary cities.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
these are things
So
that
I
will
think.
help. Yeah, planting trees. These are things that will help with our carbon footprint. The way we manage our waste, our water distribution network in our quote unquote smart city, the way we manage these things affect it has a huge impact on our carbon footprint. So the better we are with it, I mean, the closer we get to being smart as far as the world is concerned. I think they coined this term intentionally to make us to work more in reducing our carbon footprint. Because you're a city that discharges your garbage by burning, you're not making effort to reverse the issue of global warming by planting trees and all these kind of things. You can have all the technology. They will still label you as not being smart. That because you're not sustainable enough. You're not a resilient city.
Yeah, sure. But
Yeah,
I
basically.
actually
So
I actually,
you have a, a planned urban space, you must meet these requirements. The place must be laid out. You must be able to effectively and efficiently manage your resources, especially these ones that are not renewable. You must be able to manage them.
okay.
And that's
So
that's
it's
that's
good.
only applicable when you have a blueprint, when you have it laid out, when you have a plan, then you start gradually implementing it. Even the transportation system that we talk about, it's a component of it. People are moving toward electric vehicles, electric electric bikes. People are moving toward it in an attempt to
Okay.
reduce carbon footprint.
So it's
Yeah,
good. It's good. But I think our audience
people are
our
trying to
audience out there.
regulate. Yeah, people are trying to regulate traffic flow. How many cars they're trying to restrain traffic? How many cars go this place at this point of the day? Maybe they even increase the toll fare at at a certain point in time of the day to encourage people to use public transportation systems. Because if
Okay.
they increase the toll, the may say, but then I can go with the NTA for maybe something like $20. But if I carry my own car, I'll have to pay toll and all that kind of thing. So let me leave my car. So the fact that I may leave a car home for that day, he has contributed to reducing the carbon footprint. Because I mean, there will be
Exactly. Exactly.
no emission. Yeah. So these are measures. But again, in my opinion, I think we still very far off. We maybe light years away from this, from the actualization of some of these things. So we just talk
We
then.
I don't I
We
don't
further
this is a fireside,
war.
this is a fireside chat, right? It's not too formal, but I think more formal webinar or conference, you have the opportunity to come up with a strategy that will better help to foster us drawing closer to development, to developing a smart city. So I don't want us to establish the fact that we are very far. Maybe we can say we are just
No, that's my
few
personal
miles.
opinion. I'm sorry. That's you. Okay, disclaimer. Now you saying it, I'm saying it. A disclaimer. Now you
Okay,
saying
okay.
it, I'm saying it.
Thank God I have a
Because
disclaimer to
so
it.
yeah, so when you have the opportunity to leave home and come to other places, you just enjoy it. When you go back, you meet the sad reality, you adjust again, and then you look for
Yeah,
another
that's the sad
opportunity to
reality.
move on home
That's
again
the
and
sad
come enjoy it.
reality,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah. So
it's been wonderful having you, on this platform today. The last 1 hour 40 minutes has actually been really, 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 really insightful, right? Our audience have gotten a lot from you. You shed lights on some key concepts, right? To include maybe I will just run through them, right, so that our audience can know some of the key points we were actually discussing today. You shed lights on the need for contextualization, right? Right. You shed lights on how the idea of smart cities can be contextualized in Africa, to be specific, Liberia, and you shed lights on sustainable digital infrastructure, right? How they do help to advance urban planning in Africa, to be specific, Liberia. And you also shed lights on resilience in smart cities. What are measures Liberia needs to put in place at the moment in order to help foster our growth towards being a smart city. And you also shed lights on some of those instruments that are used around the world in regards to climate change, and how smart cities can help to mitigate some of the negative impact of climate change and global warming on our society. So it has actually been a wonderful time with you, and our audience out there have learned a lot. So at this junction, I will kindly ask you to maybe give your parting comments in the next 3 to 4 minutes, and then we can call this fireside chat a wonderful one.
yeah, thank you, Chief. Thank you so much. And again, I would like to disclaim that I mean the statements that are made, the quote unquote negative ones, the ones that didn't go well with you,
This is a fireside
they
chat, right? It's not too
yeah,
formal. So the more
they
formal one
came
will
out
come
of
when you have
frustration.
your expert friends.
Yeah, they came out of frustration. So I mean that's I am wholly and solely responsible for them.
Okay.
There is a part of me that's regretting it, but a bigger part of me isn't regretting it because I believe that I don't know, but I like to call a spade a spade. So it's been a pleasure being on your platform, and I want to appreciate you for having me over. Like I'm deeply, deeply honored and grateful to been extended an invitation by you to be here. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
So thank
And
you. Thank you for accepting our
always
invitation as well. Thank you.
yeah, you can always knock on my door, and I'll find time to squeeze in between.
So just to help you, just for you to carry the message, this is iSpotlight, a newly established information technology company registered in Liberia under the name iSpotlight Limited Liability Company, and we are currently being located in Liberia on Gary Street at Z Customize. And we offer some services in the field of information technology to include web development, application development, software development, and a lot more. We also offer online education. I think you've been following us. We just launched our virtual internship program, first of its kind in Liberia, although it's not yet too robust. We are still working on it because it requires a lot,
Okay.
but maybe we can help to push the message across. There are a lot of people in Liberia out there that, especially in the field of technology, who are just learning the theoretical aspect of IT. So we actually designed this program to give them hands-on training so that they can be more prepared for the job market. And it's very very affordable. Maybe you can also carry the message out to people, and you can also
Yeah.
help to push our company forward by, we are open to
Wish.
partnership as well. We are open to partnership, even if you want a website for it, even if the engineering association in Liberia needs a platform like this. We are able to power such a platform, and you people can have a more formal discussion on how you people intend on proceeding with engineering related activities in Liberia. So again, it was nice
Okay.
having you, and we'll always run to you if we need you, and if we have topics like this on our table. So thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Kanasubo.
Thank you so much, Chief. All the best.
Thank you. All right.